Hi everybody, I'm Frank. I'm the socially distant chef, and today we're going to make Ossu Bocu. Ossu Bocu means bone or marrow. It's a peasant dish. It cooks for at least 2 hours. Let me give you a good shot here of the Ossu Bocu. This is traditionally done with a veal shank, which is pretty much a cut of the calf. We don't like killing baby animals, so this is actually beef shank because they already took the cow for my steak I had last night for dinner. So I'm going to give you a little story. First I'm going to describe what we have going on. We have the veal shank. Make sure it's dry. You can't get a good sear on meat when it's wet. You're just boiling it. So remember, you want your meat dry. We have a whole series of spices, and I'm going to give you a shot of the spices now. Hopefully you can see. There's a lot of different spices. It's crushed red pepper, it's dried oregano, dried basil, salt, paprika, a little bit of allspice. That's going to give it a little bit of something at the end of the bite, and you're not going to be able to figure out what it is. It's either allspice or cinnamon. Some people use one, some people use the other. Then I put a little bit of thyme, and then I put a little bit of cumin. Alright? So now that goes along with, of course, garlic, garlic, garlic. Gotta have garlic. And I cheated ever so slightly. During the pandemic, can't get fresh basil anywhere. I had to get chopped basil in a jar. We're gonna have to make it work, everybody, okay? And because we're in a pandemic, I couldn't get pancetta. So this is pandemic pancetta. It's ham and bacon chopped up together. It's going to give you that nice smoky flavor and a nice salty flavor from the ham. White wine. You're going to use the white wine to get the fresh taste of the grapes, but you want the alcohol to cook away. Remember, there's no such thing as cooking wine. You cook with the wine you drink. Whatever wine you like, that's the wine you cook with. What we're going to add to the sauce that we're going to make for this is beef broth. You can use bone broth, you can use anything that has to do with a darker concentrate. Chicken stock is just going to be too light for this dish, so we're going to use a beef broth. Everything's going to start in golden olive oil, of course. And what you're going to see in most every start of every dish, you're going to have celery, carrots, and onions. We're going to put a nice big heaping pot of tomato sauce, and again, like the last video, any kinds of tomatoes that you prefer, plum tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, diced tomatoes, tomato sauce. This is going to work. Anything's going to work. I'm going to give you a story in a couple of minutes when we come back. Just see if you want to lay this all out and if you want to cook along with me, and we'll see you after the break. Thanks. Okay, we're back. First we're going to take our Ossu Bocu and we're going to dredge it in some flour. We're going to set it aside, get our pan nice and hot, and then we're going to sear it. First I'm going to show you a little bit something and tell a story at the same time. Ossu Bocu, if you don't cut some of the edges, and we're just going to make a neat cut right across it. It's going to curl up like a hand or a cup. You don't want your meat to curl up. You want it to lay nice and flat. That way it cooks evenly. And you know what? I remember from my childhood, it's, you know, the Italian grandmothers, they always wanted their grandsons to eat nice and to eat well, right? So it's like, oh, the boys need protein. They got to have meat. But we were poor. And not the kind of poor, it's like, oh, we were poor, but we didn't know it. No, we were poor and we knew all about it. So, you know, Grandma would come home with these pieces of meat. And we're like, how is Grandma coming home with meat? We have no money. You know, I was absolutely convinced that Grandma was having a fling with the butcher, but, you know, you can't prove it. So, here we go. We're going to cut the edges. We're going to dredge it in the seasoned flour. The flour is seasoned with salt and pepper. That's really about it. And I'll give you a good close-up in a moment of the marrow. And I'll give you a little bit of a talk about what the marrow is going to do for you. Here's the marrow in the meat. It's the center of the bone. That marrow is so sweet and so full of nutrients that when it melts into your sauce, it is going to add not only a fabulous flavor, but a great nutritional value. Now remember, this was peasant food. You know, nowadays they charge you $29, $30. You want to have this in a restaurant. But this started as a peasant dish. Why? Because who wants to eat cow shin? That's number one. Number two is it's got to cook for 2 hours before you can even chew it. So when we come back after the break, I'll show you what it's like as we put it in the pan to sear it off. Okay, we're back. I'm going to show you how we sear off our ossu bocu. Then we're going to put it aside, and then we're going to start on the vegetables. But remember, you need a hot pan. I have probably 3 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 pallets of butter. So here, listen to that. Right, you got the initial and immediate sizzle. That's what you need to hear. Because if it's not doing that, then you're boiling your meat in oil, you're not searing it off. Okay, we're back. We're just about almost done searing all of our meat. I'm going to show you the last couple of steps. I got one in the pan now. And it's really just about a minute aside. You just want to sear it off till you get a nice crust on top of it. You sear in the flavors. This way you're not getting gray meat. Nobody wants to eat gray meat. And I have to say, cast iron frying pan, your friend. Don't be afraid of using the cast iron frying pan. Alright, so yeah, you hear it nice and sizzling. You see the nice color. Let's get this bad boy out of here, and then we'll show you how we start our vegetables. Alright, we're going to use the same pan. We're going to lower the flame. We're going to take our pandemic pancetta, which is ham and bacon, and we're going to stir that in there. Now remember, you turned your pan all the way down to low. You're going to let this crisp up just a little tiny bit. You're going to go for your garlic. I'm going to say, what do you want to say? A teaspoon and a half, a teaspoon and 2 teaspoons? That'll work. Stir that in there, get that nice mixed in with the nice pandemic pancetta. Then we're going to take our vegetables. Carrots, celery, and onions. Stir that in there. Get everything working, get everything mixed in. At this point, you may want to add another little drizzle of olive oil if you think you don't have enough liquid in the pan, because you definitely don't want to burn any. Okay, we're back. We've had the vegetables in there with the pandemic pancetta for about 15 minutes. They're nice, they're sweat out, they've given their juices to the pan. So now, the seasonings. Let's put in our seasonings that we discussed in the beginning. But I'm going to hold back on the salt because we're going to taste it later. Remember, we put some bacon in there and we put some ham in there. So before you over salt the dish, hold the salt back. We'll add it later. You can always add. You can never take anything away. You can always add. All right, we'll stir in our seasonings for a couple of minutes. It looks like they're fully absorbed by the vegetables and the vegetable juice. We're going to put in, this is probably half a cup of white wine. Remember, there's no such thing as cooking wine. You use the wine that you drink to cook with. Right, you hear it starting to bubble. This is good because you want to get the alcohol off, but you want to keep the flavor and the crispness of the grapes. That's what we're looking for here. Let's give it a nice stir. You see everything starting to work together, and it's starting to make a nice sauce. You can see it already. This will cook down. I'll let this go a little bit until we can get the alcohol off. And okay, the alcohol is now evaporated from our vegetables. We're going to put a heaping teaspoon of basil. We're going to stir this up now to get the basil now mixed in there. The nice sweet with the salty, with the crispness of the grapes, with our nice, juiciness of our pandemic pancetta. Alright, so now let's add our tomatoes. We have 2 cans of tomatoes. We're going to add that right in there. Next, we got to mix it all up. So here you go. Before you add your meat back in, make sure you have everything nice and mixed. In fact, the wooden spoon, my favorite wooden spoon, right? Here we go. Mix this all back up together nice. And then we're going to add our meat. Now remember, you have to re-season this. You have to taste it, taste it, taste it. Once you taste it some more. And then season it to the way you like it. Everybody's palate's a little bit different. But we're going to put all the meat in here, and then we're going to sit it on a low flame, and we're going to let it go for probably about 2 hours. You're going to check it every 15 minutes, give it a stir, you're going to give it a check. And when we come back after that time, I'll show you, we're going to lay this on a golden bed. Okay, everybody, we're back. We're going to start the golden polenta. Okay, I have 4 cups of liquid boiling in the pot. I have 3 cups of water and 1 cup of beef stock. This is to give the polenta a little bit of extra flavor, which will accent our nice beef sauce. So here it is, beautiful golden brown, and it's going to go right in there, and then we're going to have to stir, 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 stir. And during the process, we're going to add a little butter, get some nice creaminess, and at the end, when we take it off the flame, some nice Reggiano. It's going to be fabulous. All right, I'll see you in a minute, and I'll show you when it's almost done. Okay, our polenta's done. Here it is. Nice golden yellow. Before I say golden brown, my producer has corrected me and asked me to issue a retraction. So that was my retraction. So we're going to plate this out. It's going to be a nice bed. Then we're going to get the Ossu Bocu, and I'm going to plate the whole thing for you. Give me 1 second to switch pots. Don't go away. And here it is. It's been on the stove for a little over 2 hours. We're going to first put some nice cheese on the polenta. Nice Reggiano. Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to ladle some of the sauce. Right across the top. Keep it nice and warm and nice and moist. And then we're going to have to show you a couple of pieces of beautiful. Here comes the Ossu Bocu. And there it is. Not curled up like a cup, nice and flat because we clipped the edges. And as you see, the marrow, the point of the marrow is hollow, which means that we got all of the nice marrow into the sauce. And there you have it. Now we add an Italian, it's an Italian light dressing. On rich sauces, you mix up a little fresh parsley, a little olive oil, lemon zest, and some fresh garlic. And you sprinkle that, let's see, we're just going to use our hands, right on top. That's going to bring a fresh acidity to the dish to try to cut through the heaviness of the sauce and the heaviness of the meat. Oh, that looks fabulous. Alright, so here you have it. Ossu Bocu over polenta and abundance.